Greetings, ghosts and ghouls, and welcome to Bad Boo, a podcast conjured for the curious, where we explore all things frights, flicks, and folklore.
We're your haunting hosts, Sam and Jodie, guiding you through every episode of occult exploration and holding your hand the whole way through.
So if you like the sound of spooks, screams, and symphonies, keep listening as we unravel our mystic matter for this week.
In today's episode, we'll be dreaming the origins of nightmares and the sleepless history behind them.
You'll struggle to sleep after this one.
I think you will. As we start every episode in the old Bad Boo podcast, what are nightmares?
So, nightmares are an incredibly common and universal experience. They are essentially really disturbing or frightening dreams that cause the dreamer to feel intense negative emotions such as fear, anxiety, sadness, or disgust.
So essentially we all feel nightmares. We've experienced nightmares all the time.
Yeah, so anytime that you're asleep and you just envision things and you're just like, oh, it's just a dream, if it makes you feel any negative emotion, that's actually a nightmare.
Yeah. And nightmares are often described as being a very vivid or very distressing type of dream that occur during rapid eye movement, part of your sleep, so REM.
Yeah, like the REM stage of sleep.
Yeah, and this is the stage where essentially most dreaming takes place and the brain is very, very highly active.
Yeah. I think it basically is where your body is kind of at its most relaxed, because it usually occurs when you're a little bit further into your sleeping pattern.
Yes.
And then when you reach REM sleep is when your brain kind of trickles back into your day and what you've experienced and reawakens itself into your mind, basically.
Absolutely.
And that's where you have dreams. But basically, because of the REM periods that we do have, they get progressively longer and longer throughout the night. So the more that your body rests, then the deeper you go into your REM sleep and the longer it gets. Nightmares are most likely to occur during the last third sleep cycle, which is usually between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m.
I mean, that does make sense, because I usually wake up from a nightmare and it's like the morning pretty much, or ready to get up almost. Yeah. I suppose. But very much a key feature of a nightmare is it often causes the sleeper to wake up very suddenly and fully and feel very, very scared, and usually like able to recall the content of the dream in very vivid detail. I mean, we all experience that. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you can probably think of a few nightmares already straight off the top of your head.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't have nightmares, then I'm envious of you.
Yeah, because we all do, and especially after some sort of events or stressful situations in your life, but we'll come on to that a little bit more in detail.
Yeah. However, there is like quite common content that comes across quite a few people's nightmares that I feel like you would always think that your own nightmares are kind of special to you, right? You wouldn't think that other people are dreaming of the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there are like things that nightmares usually involve that relate to things like survival and security. And because they're threat related, a lot of different people have them.
Yeah.
So one of the main ones is the fear or the feeling of like being chased or hunted, which is like commonly representing the fear of failure and anxiety about like avoiding a problem. So you feel like something's about to catch up with you. Then we've got the falling or being trapped fear, which I get quite a lot, to be honest.
Absolutely, yes.
And this one often links to feeling out of control of certain situations or quite helpless in life and situations that are occurring day to day.
Yeah.
Then we have like grief or fear related nightmares, which obviously like reflect the deep fears that you have going on and grief of events that are happening in your life.
Yeah.
And then most commonly the public embarrassment one, so being naked in a classroom or failing an exam, or just anything that links to like performance anxiety or social situations and being hugely embarrassed in that type of way.
I think like artists or musicians and stuff probably experience that a lot, especially with like performance anxiety, like standing out in front of a stage.
Yeah.
I always think of Shrek the Third, when he goes at the start and they're out on the stage and they're like dressed up looking absolutely stupid and they absolutely hate it.
Oh yeah.
That kind of is like my night. I mean, that film's full of very weird nightmares, especially when he wakes up and Donkey and Puss in Boots have got like baby ogre faces.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
that was really weird.
It freaked me out a little bit. But there's often, like we said, there's many reasonings behind why nightmares occur. And, you know, some of them can be like science-based, or some of them can be often spiritual in its perspective, but it depends on, you know, what you believe is happening inside your brain.
And obviously now we know what nightmares are, so we're going to get into a little bit of why they happen.
Yeah, there's some many, like I say, many reasonings. But first we're going to sort of have a look and explore some of the core science-based reasonings first. So, according to science, nightmares originate from a very common and complex interplay of neurobiology, psychology, and environmental factors that converge during the deepest phases of sleep.
Yeah.
So essentially what we said. The first, of course, the most common part of it is REM sleep, which, you know, is the ultimate physical source of nightmares happen during that point of sleep, like we said. And this usually begins about 90 minutes after falling asleep.
Yeah.
And it gets progressively longer towards the morning. And it happens due to the amygdala activity, which I actually learned about that on my master's degree in music. I don't know why.
We mentioned the amygdala in one of the other episodes,
did.
didn't we?
Yes, because I think we talked about it in the Origin of Horror one.
Yeah.
We talked about fight or flight responses and all of this stuff. But this area of the brain is responsible for processing emotions, particularly like fear or threat assessment. So, yeah, we did speak about this.
Yep. And if you want to learn a little bit more about fear, then go and watch our first episode of the podcast, which is the Origins of Horror, where we talk a little bit more about the fight or flight response.
We do. And where like our likings for horror and, you know, interest in fear comes from.
And possibly where your nightmares come from if you're into horror.
But we're delving a little bit deeper into a little niche avenue of fear here this week. And in this area of the brain, the amygdala, it becomes very highly active during the REM sleep. And since the function of REM is to process like intense emotional memories and potentially to diffuse them, if this processing goes like strange or is sort of very overloaded, it can result in a nightmare, and that often is a result of things that happen during the day or during your life or happen recently or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And during the REM sleep, the prefrontal cortex, so essentially the brain's logical or reasoning or inhibitory center, is largely deactivated. And this is why dreams and nightmares often feature very bizarre or illogical narratives and impossible events that we accept unquestionably in the dream state. So regardless what it is, it can be the most obscure, weird thing. And, you know, I think we were even talking about, like, sometimes we dream of each other or our family, and like they're the complete opposite of what they are like in real life. Which is like really strange. But again, in your dream, you don't question it. Yeah. You just accept it. That's the reality. Which is really freaky, I think. It's really, really freaky, especially because you wake up and you think, wait, was that real? Like, is that how it actually is? And then you question if you've been dreaming the life that you already were living, you know? And again, that's because the brain just simply can't apply logic into like this kind of situation. Yeah. And it's unable to calm itself down, which is why it just spirals and spirals and spirals until you wake up. Yeah. So it's very intense, really. It is very, your body very goes through this stuff. I mean, everybody experiences a nightmare at some point. Which obviously often explains why people wake up with like crazy sweats as well, or like while you're panting when you wake up. It's because your brain is stressed out, so it's basically causing the natural feelings of anxiety. Absolutely. And you're experiencing the same symptoms if you were being anxious, so you're sweating profusely, running out of breath, feeling short-breathed, like even like having like a dry mouth or thirsty. Like I get that when I have a nightmare personally. Yeah, I mean, just really, it's like a proper fear response, isn't it? All like the symptoms you rightly described there. Yeah, exactly. And the brain as well has like a threat simulator, I suppose, in which like some evolutionary psychologists suggest that dreaming, and particularly frightening ones, serves as a threat simulator. It's basically essentially a way to prepare you for certain situations that may arise in your life, but it may be like an adaptive function and allows the brain to sort of practice these survival responses within a safe environment, and preparing the individual for like a real world danger that it may be alluding to, which is kind of cruel. It's a cruel way of doing it, I think, but
it is really cool.
In some ways, you know, you kind of get that deja vu feeling at points, so kind of think, oh, yeah, I've been here before, or I dreamt about that before. It's kind of you do kind of remember these.
It is completely
dreams.
Wild though, like with how crazy, like personally, some of my dreams are. Like I don't want to prepare for those to be real.
No.
You know, like they're absolutely terrifying.
Absolutely not.
And just on the more like emotional side of things, we obviously have a psychological and emotional source and perspective to all of this nightmare behavior as well. And it basically stems from the idea that the content and frequency of nightmares is heavily influenced by the waking life that you live every day and the emotional and mental state of your person day to day.
Absolutely. Of course it is.
Yep. And so this means that things like daily stress or conflict or even high levels of anxiety are the most common like psychological triggers. So like we were saying a minute ago, if you're dreaming about like being chased, it's something that you're stressed out about and you're feeling is like catching up to you. This is basically the brain's attempt at you trying to process these emotions during your sleep because they're so overwhelming and intense during the day that your body is still like struggling to process it, you know?
Yeah.
And it eventually just gets so overwhelmed from the stress that it just erupts into a nightmare, basically. Yeah. So with brains processing dreams as the like consolidating emotional memory like process and having them come out as dreams, it basically means that if a memory carries a high emotional charge, so anything like guilt or sadness or anger, things that like really get you going, you know, not get you going in that type of way, but get you going in another type of way, anything that raises your heart rate or makes you like triggered in any type of way, it's basically creates a dream in the brain's attempt to file it away, and it eventually just ends up manifesting into a terrifying or distressing narrative at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, as we can see a lot here, it's often it all comes from previous experiences, previous things you witnessed or been a part of, and it comes to sort of either prepare you perhaps even about something you haven't experienced, or sort of to prepare you, say, in a way of, this is a big problem, you can't see this again because it's kind of a danger to you.
And particularly speaking of dangers, one of the like most powerful sources of nightmares is PTSD, which for those of you that don't know stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. And this, again, because like traumatic nightmares are often like exact or like fragmented replays of traumatic events, it is just the brain repeatedly forcing the memory into your consciousness while you're sleeping, because it hasn't successfully integrated itself into your memory processing yet. Which is why a lot of people who go through really like bad things struggle to sleep at night, or they often wake up in the middle of the night and they have like disrupted patterns of sleep, or a lot of people can't remember their, like, if you have a traumatic childhood, for example, you can't have memories of it, but you have nightmares about it. And it feels like you're unlocking little key bits of your past, because technically you are. It's your brain's way of like processing everything.
Your brain is like a filing cabinet almost, isn't it? Of exactly. Like memories.
It's a filing cabinet of memories. Or even the water fountain from Harry Potter, where Dumbledore takes out his thoughts and his memories and puts them in there. Puts them into the bowl. I always forget the name of it, but if you know what I mean, if any of you know, put it in the comments, because I can't be asked to look it up. But I do love Harry Potter, by the way. What one was that in? Deathly Hallows or Half-Blood Prince? It's in quite a few of them. I think it's more in the later ones, because it's kind of like Harry's like two. Remembering his past. But that is as a form of PTSD in his character. Because he sort of goes through these sort of like waking nightmares, essentially, of bad events. But of course, there are other physical and external triggers that can cause nightmares that can be helped, essentially, if these things are avoided. So again, this can be, most commonly, is a medication side effect. So if you're on some sort of medication, no matter how potent it is, there can be certain medications given to you for certain reasons or illnesses that can inflict like a nightmare side effect as part of the medication. Well, and the same goes for the other way around. So if you are like withdrawing from a substance, whether it's a medication or whether it's recreational
substance of
substance
some sort.
as well,
Yeah.
then you are more likely to have nightmares because they disrupt your REM patterns they increase your nightmares.
Increase your anxiety, really, as
Yeah.
well, a lot of them.
Exactly.
And of course, another thing you might not know, if you're listening, is eating late at night can actually cause nightmares. And this is because when you're eating heavily right before bed, it increases the body's metabolism and its temperature, amongst other things, of course, but which in turn leads to increased brain activity during sleep and raises the probability of vivid dreaming and nightmares. So it can go either way, but that's really interesting.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I used to have a load of nightmares when I was a kid, and I used to eat quite late.
Yeah.
But I never knew what it was.
Yeah.
And I always knew that there were foods that would give you nightmares.
Yeah.
So I would stay away from them.
Yeah.
I don't know if this
Leeks.
is true, but leeks.
Mushrooms. I don't like mushrooms.
Really?
Well, we don't like mushrooms.
Is this what you were told though?
No. They're just nightmarish foods.
Oh.
So.
Well, I've been told, I don't know if my mum just told me these so that I would stop eating them before I went to bed, but I was always told that chocolate gives you nightmares if you eat it too late. Cheese gives you nightmares if you eat it too late. I feel like those are the two most popular ones. I was also told that orange juice gives you nightmares.
I've heard of the orange juice one.
Yeah, orange juice, cheese and chocolate are the three that I was told, like, don't eat them before you go to sleep because you will have a nightmare.
Yeah, the chocolate one, I always thought that like if the more pure like cocoa you go, the better it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's like something.
I mean,
that's
it
real
wouldn't surprise me because if it's to do with the amount of like sugar you're ingesting, because it's
raises
increasing
your blood
your brain activity as well.
Yeah, your blood pressure's going up.
Completely makes sense. Releasing the right endorphins at the wrong time, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, on the subject of sleep, because that's what the entire episode is about. Sleep deprivation and irregular sleeping schedules or even insufficient sleep can throw off your REM cycle entirely, and this basically just leads to more intense and disruptive periods of like nightmares, and then even when you do get the chance to rest, your body's so unused to it that you just end up having nightmares. So
it's no surprise, is it?
Yeah.
Usually when you're like sleep deprived, you kind of, I mean, you can get to a point that you actually like hallucinate and you start seeing things when you're that tired.
Yeah. Like the dragon incident.
And if you're listening to this, I'm not going to say who it is, but if you're listening to this and someone turned into a dragon flying around the room, you know who you are. But of course, they're the sort of core science-based ones. Obviously, the brain is a whole like career in itself of people to like pull apart and decipher and understand. So that's scratching the very surfaces of nightmares and sleep, and it's such a mystery in itself.
And obviously we're not neuroscientists as much as we wish that we could be.
Yes.
I got a D in biology, so this isn't exactly the episode for me to be like spitting facts on, but we can research nonetheless. We're filmmakers and we know how to research. So
yes, exactly.
That's our qualification for this area.
But probably,
and we have nightmares, so
yeah, we do. I mean, we all have experience, but probably because it's like the ocean. It's like really, it's such a mystery about like dreams. That's probably why there comes a lot of spiritual based reasonings behind what may be happening.
Yeah, exactly. We've looked at the scientific reasons, but every scientific, I feel like, fact kind of has its spiritual counterpart.
It does, almost. Not quite religious, but it could be like very spiritual meaning because that's such a world in its own, and this is bamboo.
Exactly.
We go into these things.
Yeah. And the two kind of main reasons that nightmares occur are either sleep paralysis or astral projection, which for those of you that don't know is counted as an OBE or out of body experience. So let's get a little bit into those, shall we? Because that's what we're really here for.
That is what we're really here for.
This is what we can actually give a little bit of our own knowledge on too.
I hope.
And this is where we delve into it.
I hope so.
Because this is where it gets a little bit spooky.
It does. Very spooky. So we'll go with sleep paralysis first. And essentially, if you don't know what it is, I hope you don't know what it is because it's absolutely mortifying.
If you don't know what sleep paralysis is, God bless you.
Yes.
I am so happy for you. Please don't ever try to give yourself sleep paralysis.
Don't induce it.
Yeah.
if you don't know, it's essentially a state of temporary inability to move or speak that occurs when a person is waking up or falling asleep. So literally, you're like paralyzed temporarily. It's absolutely terrifying.
It really, really is.
And it's one of the most common biological phenomena misinterpreted as a spiritual or demonic attack, I suppose. So it can be misinterpreted, but also it can be interpreted as something demonic or spiritual. But we will go on to that a little bit later.
Yeah,
about
there are
demonic.
a lot of instances where people do have sleep paralysis and it is just a dream or it is just a nightmare and it's just your brain driving a little bit crazier that evening, and the coat that's hanging on the back of your door turns into like a large shadow man who stood in the corner and watching you.
Yeah.
Other times, especially if other occurrences have been happening in your home as well, it can be a symptom of demonic possession.
It can be very much so.
Or of like a negative energy trying to attach itself to you.
Yeah.
But not necessarily all the time.
No.
It does definitely depend on the situation, where you are, history of the building, your own mental history as well.
Yeah. There's so many factors that come into play.
Yeah.
With the causes of sleep paralysis, perhaps. But the state that essentially leaves you in, and where it occurs, is where the brain wakes up while the body's protective paralysis, so atonia or atonia, from the REM sleep cycle is still active, and the person is fully conscious, but they cannot control any of their muscles. So that's going into a little bit more. I mean, having experienced it myself, and Jodie's experienced it as well. I'm sure many of you that are listening to this have too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely, like, it's so disturbing to go through.
If there's anybody listening to this that has experienced it but hasn't know what it's been called.
Yeah, well, we might be reading out the very thing that you've probably been thinking,
if you've ever had a nightmare and you can't move while you're having it,
and you kind of feel like it's real,
yeah,
like
and it
it's
feels
happening
real,
in front of your face.
That's sleep paralysis, my friend.
It is.
And I'm so sorry.
It also comes with some things called hypnopompic hallucinations, and this is essentially where, you know, the fear of sleep paralysis and the fear of everything is very much dramatically amplified by these very vivid hallucinations that occur while you're fully conscious and awake.
Yeah.
So they're very dreamlike perceptions that are layered over realities, so what you're actually seeing.
So this is why the coat on the back of your door turns into a person.
Yes.
This is why.
But you can actually see it.
Yeah, this is why the teddy bear that's sat at the end of your bed starts like turning its head towards you and stuff.
Yes.
It's not actually doing that. If it is, wake the fuck up and run.
Get Ed and Lorraine Warren. Get Sam and Colby.
Yeah, get Sam and Colby to come and sort that out for you.
Hopefully.
Or Zach Bagans, Ghost Adventures, you know.
Get any of that kind of good old new stuff.
But it basically happens because it's layering your own perception of reality over the dreamlike state.
Yes. And this can include like intruder hallucinations. So it's basically seeing like a very shadowy, often menacing figure standing in the room or by the bed. Or it can be in regards to a more demonic entity, a more incubus hallucination, in which we spoke more about
in our demons episode.
The incubus and succubus in our demons episode, which if you haven't seen it, please go and watch it. That's a very, very dark episode, but it's very, very interesting. But the incubus hallucination essentially is feeling a very heavy pressure on the chest. And it's often accompanied by the sensation of choking or being suffocated as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that comes with other things as well, which we'll go into just a second, about like a more demonic interpretation.
Yeah. And that is because with the demonic interpretation, historically the feeling of being held down by an evil presence during this state actually gave rise to like a classic demonic folklore, which was the story of the incubus/succubus. One of them is female, the other is male, just because those are like Latin words.
Yes.
So these are basically demons that are believed to lie upon a sleeping person and drain their energy, or even assault them during their sleep. And it's just basically a direct explanation for the sensation of like chest pressure or suffocation or choking during that sleep phase. And in various folklore traditions, the paralysis or the pressure were actually attributed to witches or malevolent spirits riding the person's back or chest.
We'll be going on to that a little bit later, about a certain demon that appears in cultures, to the reasonings behind perhaps why sleep paralysis occurs. But yeah, it's quite disturbing. So
it is really very
stay
disturbing.
tuned for that one. And while you're staying tuned, please subscribe.
Yeah.
If you're here on YouTube, or follow us if you're listening on Spotify. Massively supports us. It's free. So just, support us here.
And why don't you drop a like while you're down there as well?
Yeah. Or comment. Whether you've had sleep paralysis, any scary stories. Yeah, and go and check out our posts on Instagram and TikTok and whatnot at Badbury Productions. You can see some behind the scenes stuff as well if you're more interested in some creepy pictures that go along with our episodes, or little sneak peeks into knowing what our episodes are going to be coming up. So,
or even if you have any suggestions for it as well,
or any suggestions, we're very much open. There's a community for all of you guys to enjoy if you're into the horror and spiritual world. Horror.
Anyway, with all of that, we do obviously have one more of the spiritual interpretations of that, and that is the good old out-of-body experience, aka OBE, aka astral projection.
Any more AKAs?
AKA the entire plotline of the first and second Insidious movies, which were the only good ones.
I agree.
So for those of you that haven't seen Insidious, and for those of you that don't have a bloody clue what astral projection is, it is basically the spiritual interpretation of an out-of-body experience, which is the sensation of perceiving the world from a location outside of one's physical body. It's often recorded during periods of high stress, or even the complete opposite of periods of extreme relaxation, or even when transitioning into sleep.
That's odd. I mean, I've never experienced that. I suppose it's probably more rare.
I have once. I won't say why, but it was very, very scary.
Yeah.
And I really didn't like it.
I didn't know.
But I know that Callum, my brother, he's had dreams where he has actually woken up in his bedroom looking at himself sleeping.
That's really strange.
And he's walked into the hallway, and this has been while I've been moved out.
Yeah.
And he'd wake up in his old bedroom, because he moved into my one when I left.
Yeah.
He'd wake up in his old bedroom, look at himself lying there, walk to the top of the stairs, and somebody would be outside of my bedroom telling him to go in there. And he'd have a really bad gut-wrenching feeling that something bad was gonna happen.
That's really strange.
Yeah, and he'd text me, and he'd be like, "Oh, be careful about what you're doing today, because I had a bad feeling, and someone was trying to get me to go in your room last night, and all this type of stuff."
Yeah.
But yeah, Callum's literally seen himself sleeping.
That's really strange.
It's really, really strange. But if you like the idea of that, go and watch Insidious, because it's a very good film if you want to learn about astral projection.
Really good film.
But just to get a little bit more into it, it basically is the person feeling that their subconsciousness, or their soul, or astral body, so basically the little person that talks to you in your head every single day, is kind of breaking off from you and has separated from the physical form of your body, and is just floating nearby somewhere, and often looking down at their physical body. So from here, in occult and new age traditions, it's believed to be the actual soul leaving the body itself to travel to the astral plane, which is the dimension believed to be inhabited by demons and spirits and celestial beings. But there are many belief systems that state that the astral body remains connected to the physical body by a thin thread-like structure, which is known as the silver cord. And basically the terror in a nightmare, or the frightening experience that comes with having an out-of-body experience, is often the fear that the cord is being severed between the soul and the body, which could potentially result in death. And that's why it's closely related to the thinning of the veil between our dimension and the spiritual one, because that is obviously where these souls would potentially go.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's essentially it in a nutshell. But when nightmares happen during the out-of-body experience, It's interpreted as this person's soul being attacked or even captured by the hostile entities in this like astral plane. Hence the desperate need to like snap them back into their body so that their soul doesn't get taken.
Essentially, like the plot of Insidious.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously there are other demonic influences that are tied to nightmares as well, such as like soul pollution. So like demons or like the devil or Satan are believed to actively use nightmares to tempt the dreamer or pollute their spirit with terrifying and sinful imagery. So like blasphemy or graphic violence, for example. Viewing the nightmares as a form of like a spiritual warfare, if you like.
Yeah.
There's also infestation, which is essentially frequent or intense nightmares, particularly those involving persistent entities, are sometimes interpreted as a sign of demonic infestation. So essentially a low-level influence on a location or person that precedes a more like very serious possession. And of course, like I say, there's the dream incubation as well. So some practitioners of the occult believe that through rituals they can purposely incubate a nightmare, sending a thought form or spiritual attack directly into an enemy's sleep state.
Ooh.
So it's very vicious type of demonic activity there. So that is essentially nightmares in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Nightmares for dummies, if you like.
Maybe we should put that on a t-shirt. Nightmares in a nutshell.
Nightmares in a nutshell for you. But going down a more personal path, that leads us on to the Isle of Fright.
For this episode's Isle of Fright, we're actually taking it down a completely different avenue to what we usually do.
We really are.
So, surprise. And I know Sam hates surprises, but this is actually his idea this time.
Yeah.
So if you don't like surprises, then guess you're just going to have to put up with it for this episode.
Yes, unfortunately for you.
Yep. But for this episode's Isle of Fright, we are going to be delving into our own personal nightmares.
Our own sleep paralysis is...
Yeah.
Paralysis. I don't know
Paralysis.
what the correct word is, but sorry about that.
We are going to be focusing on Sam's ones, just because I've been here a lot less time than he has.
Well, on the island.
Yeah, not in the world. I've been
Jodie's
here
older
longer
than
in the world. By 1 year and 9 months.
A year and 9 months. It's not quite 2 years.
But Sam has obviously been on the Isle of Wight longer than I have.
Of course.
And we would have tried to find something for the Isle of Fright segment, which Sam very much did. But
I was absolutely going down into the deep depths of the internet, trying to find anything remotely to do with nightmares or night terrors or sleep paralysis or anything to do with that on the Isle of Wight.
But people just keep their nightmares to themselves, don't they?
But they're very personal. So I thought, personal, let's go down a more personal route.
Yeah.
Talking about my sleep paralysis demon, and Jodie could probably put into some of her own that she's actually had since she's been here. So that's really, really interesting.
Because I've been having really vivid dreams the past month.
Yeah.
And even before that, I actually had a really bad nightmare.
Yeah.
It was kind of sleep paralysis at the same time. It was like a weird mix of the two.
You woke up and you saw it, but
let's just wait and we'll get into mine in a minute.
We'll get into that in a second.
Let's tell Sam's first.
So this will probably be a bit of a shorter section this week, but it should be a little bit interesting, and it gives a chance for all of you to talk about your own sleep paralysis ones,
and you can get a little glimpse into the mind of Sam.
The mind of me, which is not the best place to be.
I think it is.
Well, thank you. So essentially, as most sleep paralysis is caused by stress, mine of course was anxiety, stress. They always are. When I'm in like a really heightened state of anxiety or stress, something that's been happening, I tend to have some sort of sleep paralysis, and it tends to happen when I'm sleeping on my back. I don't know why.
Mine's the same.
I've heard that it can happen. It's to do with like the position of your heart or something like that, and your organs, and how like your blood pressure can like drop or increase. But with my sleep paralysis, it is very much usually an old lady that appears in the corner of my room. So this was when I was living in my family home. It happened many times that she would just stand right in the corner. So you're looking down at my bed towards my feet, little left corner, because my room wasn't very big there, because there was 3 of us, and 3 boys, But it was a great room. It was absolutely.
It was a really
cracking.
great room.
Fit my music studio in it, so I can't ever complain.
But just imagine, because I'll explain the setup of your room so that we can give them a
little bit of a context.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody close your eyes and imagine this.
Imagine Sam's room.
So, you're lying down on your back and you are on a slightly higher up, maybe about like 3-4 feet off the floor, bed that is placed in the right back corner of a room, and directly opposite you is the door to said room.
Yes.
To your left hand side, just by about a foot or so, is a tall lamp in the other corner of the room.
Yeah.
There is a window behind you, behind the head of the bed. Then along the wall with the lamp, there is a small table on the floor with some books on it.
Yeah.
Then a long desk that goes along the side of the bed as well. And again, a very small room, only about a foot of space between the two.
Yeah.
Like the bed and the desk.
It's a cozy room.
Yep, as you follow that desk further down towards the door on the left-hand side, you have Sam's wardrobe stood in the corner.
Yep.
So as you would walk into the room, it would be on the right-hand side. As you look from the bed, it's on the left-hand side in the corner.
Yes.
And at the moment, we are Sam, and we are laying down in the right corner, looking at the door.
At the door. So, the old lady would appear pretty much where the wardrobe is, so in the left corner-ish.
Yeah.
And of course, classic sort of sleep paralysis. You know, you can't move. You're kind of stuck, but you can only just move your eyes. And I could see her, and she's like naked for some reason. If you think like It, if you've seen It Chapter 2, and it's like the naked lady.
Or Barbarian.
Or Barbarian, if you've seen that. It's kind of like that. But the worst part is that she walks very slowly to the end of my bed, and all I can do is see her. You kind of like try and shout for help, or try and shout out to sort of like exclaim the whatever it is to go away. I see her walking very slowly to the end of my bed, and then she crawls up it until she is like over the top of me, with like her nose against my nose.
That actually gave me full body chills right then. Oh,
She's got really droopy eyelids.
I hate it.
And she just sort of looks into my eyes like really close up. You know, kind of like if you've got a dog, you like stare into their eyes, and it's like really freaky sometimes. It's like that. But imagine an old lady just staring at you, like not smiling or anything. She's just like staring into your eyes, nose to nose. And she'll stare into my eyes for what feels like an absolute eternity, but you can't move. But because you can't move, it feels like she's pinning you down. Yeah. And like you're stuck.
Oh, I hate that.
And you don't know what she's going to do, and you kind of get these like horrible chills. And I just sort of like sit up in like a sweat, and she's like completely disappeared.
I'm so sorry that used to happen to you.
Yeah, well, it happened like so often. It was like really, really disturbing and creepy. But yeah, that's essentially like the demon that pops up a lot when I get very, very anxious. But I haven't had that since I moved. But I haven't really had sleep paralysis since we moved.
Well, that's good then. Hopefully that means I'm doing something to help with your stress.
I think so. Well, hopefully. But I think it's also just, it's, you know, somewhere different. But at the same time, I'm sure it'll be a matter of time and I'll have it again.
Oh, great.
There we go.
I don't want to see any old bloody naked
ladies
standing in our bedroom.
No. But yeah, that's
absolutely terrifying.
It's always terrifying. It makes me feel sick thinking about it. But
I think also staying in that room now as well, I can like even imagine it happening.
Yeah, it's sort of like it sort of feels like moonlit every time it happens. You can just see her stood over there, and I think, oh, here we go.
The moon does always shine directly into your bedroom, doesn't it?
Here's Doris. Here she comes. You know.
Oh, hate that. Oh.
But yeah, and going on to what Jodie's seen whilst being on the Isle of Fright, if you like.
So I'm going to give you guys two, actually, because another one's just popped into my head while I was hearing Sam's story, because I haven't heard the actual extent of it.
Oh boy.
One of them it reminded me of it because one of mine actually used to appear in my like family bedroom when I was growing up in front of my wardrobe.
Yeah.
And the other one happened literally about a couple months ago in our own room.
Yes.
I'll start with that one first because it actually happened on the Isle of Wight. So me and Sam go to bed. Very, very stressful time in our lives. obviously not as stressful to give Sam sleep paralysis as well as me. But this time...
I was still stressed, but just so tired.
But this time it gave me sleep paralysis because I wasn't sleeping very well at the time either. So I was probably overly exhausted. And
one of the very symptoms we spoke about
just
earlier.
Yep. And also very stressed out as well. Mm-hmm. So what happened was it felt like it was a dream in a dream. So...
bit of inception going on here.
Yeah. So in said dream... I'm lying next to Sam, obviously, and Sam is turned on his side facing like away, like towards the edge of the bed.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of the bed. And I'm lying on my back, which again, mine happens when I'm lying on my back as well. Me and Sam literally have to make sure that I'm not sleeping on my back anymore, because that's like how often it happens. Yeah. Every time I'm sleeping on my back, it happens.
It does. It's
awful. So I'm sleeping on my back. Womp womp, shouldn't have done that. And what happens is I can't move and I can't speak properly. Like I can't raise my voice to shout. And just out of the corner of my eye, like in my peripheral vision, I look to my left and I can see that just where my nightstand is, there is a young boy stood there. Yes. Who is maybe about like 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah.
And he stood next to the side of the bed and he is just stood there staring at me. And he's got like a little fringe that like sweeps across his face. He looks like he could be out of like the war or something. I don't know. But he's just stood there and he's just staring at me.
Yeah.
So I try to move my foot to nudge Sam, but obviously I can't move, so I can't do that. So I start whispering his name and I'm like, Sam, Sam, Sam. Because I'm getting really, really worried. So I'm trying to shout, scream.
Yeah.
Whisper at the same time, and I'm like, there's someone in the room, and you turn over to kind of, you're like, oh, like what, like are you okay, like what is it?
Yeah, this is kind of like the dream-esque part of it, because this part
didn't happen at all. Sam didn't wake up.
I didn't wake up at all.
But this was still in the dream. So in the dream, Sam turns over and is now facing me, but he opens his eyes and lifts his head to look at my face. And actually looks and sees the boy, and his eyes just widen and his mouth drops and he looks absolutely terrified. In this moment, I'm like worried and I'm constantly saying to Sam, I'm like, what is it? What is it? Getting to go away? What? Who is it?
Yeah.
And I keep trying to turn my head so that I can see what it is. And something feels like it just snaps. And I turn my head towards the left, towards where the boy is stood.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm in my parents' bedroom.
Yeah.
And my dad was actually sat on the edge of the bed.
Yeah.
And he just says to me like, oh, are you okay, honey? And I'm like, no, there was somebody in here. And he's like, nobody's been in here. He's like, I've been here the whole time. Which, bearing in mind, my dad like is still alive. Like, it's not like it was some spiritual message or anything like that.
No.
And I turn back the other way and I'm back in my room. And I'm like fully awake this time, because this time Sam was still lying on his side.
Yeah.
And everything felt real. So it was like I just spoken to my dad. As soon as I went and lied back on my back, everything went back to normal.
Yeah.
I was in my own bedroom. I was fully wide awake. I had some water. And I turned and I woke you up and I was like, I've just had the weirdest like sleep paralysis ever.
It's proper creepy when you told me about it.
Yeah. Really, really creepy. So that's that
story.
That's the Isle of Wight one.
The Isle of Fright part.
But just quickly for the other one, in my bedroom when I was growing up, I used to have really, really vivid nightmares.
Yeah.
At least maybe once or twice a week. And it was the same one every single time.
Yeah.
It first started, I remember the first time that I ever saw this thing in my bedroom.
Yeah.
I was sleeping, woke up in the middle of the night, really thirsty, and I used to have a bunk bed because I used to share a bedroom with my little brother.
Yes.
But when he went into the other bedroom we had, it meant that the top bunk was empty. And my mum filled it with cushions because I used to get scared that there would be someone lying in it.
Yeah, understandably.
Yeah. But because there was nobody coming down like the ladder or anything, I used to have a box under my bed.
Yeah.
And I used to pull it out so that I could use the corner of the box as like a little coaster to keep my bottle there, so it would just raise off the floor and easy to reach.
Yes.
And right across from where my bed was my chest of drawers, with like my TV on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then to the right of that was my wardrobe. To the right of that was the door to my bedroom.
Yeah.
And what happened was I woke up in the middle of the night, very thirsty, turned over, went to grab some water. And as I kind of lifted the bottle, I looked up, and because I had my eyes closed when I turned around to go and grab the bottle.
Yeah.
But as I lifted it up, because I wanted to make sure I don't knock anything,
Yeah.
lifted the bottle up, and in the peripheral of my eyes, I can see that in front of my wardrobe, like just between the chest of drawers and the wardrobe, there is a girl stood there. Again, about like 9 or 10 years old. But I was about 10 years old at the time, so same age as me.
Sort of at the same age.
Yeah. Stood there in like a white nightgown thing that was all like weirdly like torn up and like mouldy.
Yeah.
With her hair over her face without any shoes on.
It's kind of like the Ring.
Yeah, fully like the Ring. It was absolutely terrifying. Bearing in mind, hadn't seen the Ring at all when I was this age, so it was just really, really scary. And that was the first time I ever saw it.
Yeah.
So I instantly like put the water back down, pretended that I didn't see anything, and like quickly kind of turned the other way, put my duvet over my head, and that was that. Then the other times, which would happen again like once or twice a week, I would be lying on my back in my bedroom, and the girl would be in there, and I would see her, and I always slept with my door open.
Yeah.
So I could always try and call for my mum if anything happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I would see her, and I would try and like scream for my mum, but all that would come out would be like a whisper. So I'd be like, Mum.
Yeah.
Like that type of thing, because I'd be trying to scream as much as I could, and it would just be a whisper. And she'd get like closer and closer and closer until she got to the edge of my bed, and I'd wake up every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it.
That's really weird.
And then when I was a teenager, I had a dream that she was in my bathroom once, and I like killed her.
Well, at least you got rid of it.
Yeah.
That's one way. Try and kill your sleep paralysis demons.
Yeah.
If you can.
That's the advice for this episode.
That's the advice. Get rid of them. Just get rid of them. They're not worth it. So there we go. That's some of our stories. Most of them on the Isle of Wight. Again, Ghost Island. But yeah, let us know in the comments any sleep paralysis episodes you've had, if you've had any. Let us know what you think about ours.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
With that, we go into some more stories. Just one from a little Reddit post that we found, which ties into the subject very nicely. And that takes us to our Boo or Bust segment.
So for this week's Boo or Bust, as we have been doing for our last 2 or 3, I think, episodes, we've been exploring the depths of the No Sleep subreddit page on Reddit. And we have been finding anything to do with nightmares or night terrors or sleep paralysis, and came across a story called I Think I'm Slowly Slipping into Perpetual Sleep Paralysis and It Terrifies Me Beyond Words. And it's by the Reddit user Hyperobscura. So we shall be reading this to you. Let us know whether you think it's a boo, as in real, or a bust, not real. So
just before we get into this story, a little heads up that there is quite a lot of intense swearing and foul language in this story, just because of how the person's written it.
Just watch out, or just skip this part if you so wish.
Yeah, or if you have young kids around, listen to this bit later. Or if your kids are there and you don't mind them listening to it,
whatever.
Bit
man.
weird, because they're probably going to get very scared. But up to you. Just be aware that there's a lot of strong language in it.
Yeah, so just a little heads up for you.
But enjoy.
Language.
I remember when I was a child, maybe 5 or 6, waking up in the middle of the night, completely unable to move. It was the most terrifying thing that ever happened to me. I've experienced sleep paralysis more times than I can count since, but that first time, man, it was intense. Thankfully, I didn't have any hallucinations, or I'd probably be fucked up beyond repair. But still, imagine a kid waking up, your body completely unresponsive. That shit is something that'll stay with you forever. Like I said, I'm no stranger to sleep paralysis anymore. I sort of got used to it after a while, finding techniques for waking myself up when it happened. And I've never hallucinated before. Not that I know of anyway. Sure, I'd see shadows dancing and light moving, but it could easily be explained by cars passing by my bedroom windows or branches waving in the wind. Eventually I just grew out of it. Or so I thought.
I think it all started after my father-in-law's funeral. The whole thing was bizarre. I never actually met the man. I don't think anyone wept more than me. My wife and my mother-in-law had the ceremony right at the end, where they lay his royal blue pendant atop the coffin, caressed their own identical pendants. It was a family crest, an heirloom of sorts, and whispered goodbye. I don't know, I just lost it at that part. I was a blubbering mess, and in the end, my wife had to comfort me. When I say I'd never met the man, it's not entirely true. I saw him once, very briefly. I accompanied my wife to the nursing home where he'd been staying for the last 20 years, and snuck a peek through the door as my wife left for the bathroom. It was horrible, let me tell you. Especially for me, given my history of sleep paralysis. The poor man was nothing but skin and bones, his mouth wide open, drool running down his neck, empty, tear-filled, tormented eyes staring into the void.
He'd been like that for 25 years. No one could figure out why. According to the doctors, the experts, there was nothing physically wrong with him. It was like he was stuck in a perpetual sleep paralysis. I shudder at the thought. Imagine spending every waking moment stuck in your immobile meat sack, conscious and clear, but unable to do anything. I would fucking kill myself. Except that's not really a choice, is it? You can't even end your own miserable fucking existence. True fucking horror, that. Anyway, I guess it sort of got to me when he died. I kept thinking about how depressed he must have been, how messed up and dreary and useless his existence was, and couldn't purge it from my mind. It was hands down my worst nightmare.
A few days after the funeral, I had my first sleep paralysis in 15 years. It wasn't too bad, admittedly, but it still freaked me out. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling for an hour, before I was unable to snap out of it. When I did, I just sat up in the bed, hyperventilating, too afraid to drift back to sleep. My wife eventually woke up and comforted me, but it didn't help. It was back, and I hated it. The next couple of nights, things escalated. I woke up the same, locked inside my body, unable to move. But something else was there with me. I couldn't see what it was. It always harrowed just on the edges of my peripheral vision, but it was definitely humanoid in shape. It wandered, floated, hovered around for hours. I just couldn't snap out of it. I think maybe I was afraid that it might be more than just a hallucination.
During waking hours, I was exhausted, completely drained of energy. Sure, my body slept, but my mind wasn't getting the rest it needed, and I lumbered around like a zombie, never fully conscious. My wife noticed, of course, and I had to tell her what was going on with me. It was hard, you know. I was supposed to be strong, unflinching, indestructible, but she always understood me. She suggested some warm milk and tea before I went to bed, so I figured I'd give it a shot. Couldn't get any fucking worse, right? Turns out it could. I woke up to her sitting on my chest. The Hag. I'm sure you've heard of her. She's like a sleep paralysis legend or something. The Night Hag? Her lethargic face was warped and twisted, and weirdly out of focus the entire time, but I could clearly make out her primal, crooked, lean features and a horrid grin stretching from ear to ear. I tried my best to move, to snap out of it, to force my muscles into action, but to no avail. She had total and absolute domain over me.
I can't say how long she perched over me, but it had to be hours. When she finally crawled off and disappeared into the darkness beyond my vision, I think I just lost consciousness. I woke up 12 hours later, but still felt like shit. My wife didn't wake me. It was a Saturday, and she thought I needed the rest. I told her what had happened, what I'd seen, what I'd experienced, but she didn't seem overly concerned. It was just a dream, she said. A very vivid hallucination. It would be alright. I believed her. But I shouldn't have. She came to me 3 nights in a row. The same ritual, the same horrid, wicked, gruesome grin. I could do nothing but stare into that contorted visage. Her twirling, ice-cold eyes eating away at my very soul. I could do nothing but despair and anguish, my mind trying desperately to shut down. I could do nothing.
Look, I consider myself a fairly mentally stable guy, but after those nights, I was definitely losing my grip on reality. Everything felt like a dream, a nightmare, and I couldn't function at all. My wife tried her best to encourage me, to offer solutions and advice, but I struggled to pay attention to anything she said. I just wanted everything to be over. I mean everything. But I wasn't ready to end it, you know? I wanted to fight it. It was all in my head, right? And I could beat myself. I'm pretty stupid after all. Now that I knew what was coming, I could face it, own it, defeat it. Know your enemy and all that. I was ready for anything. But to my extreme dismay and horror, I quickly realised I wasn't prepared for it at all. She had to know it, right? Know I was ready to face her. That's why she wasn't alone this time around. There were two of them, one either side of my face, just staring at me, grinning ear to ear, wheezing discordantly, licking my eyes, tasting my tears.
Look, I'm at my wit's end here. I'm not just losing it anymore. I'm pretty sure I already lost it. They are destroying me, devouring me, endlessly haunting me. I'm paralysed for longer and longer periods. 2 hours, 3, 4, the entire fucking night. And it's eating away at everything I am and everything that makes me, me. I'm becoming a hollow husk, an empty shell. I'm becoming my father-in-law. And that's not the worst part. The worst part happened last night.
They were at it again, inches from my face, licking, tasting, their horrible, warty, discoloured, foul tongues all over my face. When I saw it, it was just dangling there, in front of me the entire time. How did I not see it sooner? How could I not see her sooner? From their necks, just swinging side to side hypnotically, royal blue pendants.
So there we go. That is the story of someone that believes that they are slowly slipping into a perpetual sleep paralysis.
By their wife and their mother-in-law, by the sounds of it.
By the sounds of things. That's what other people are saying in their in the comments.
Oh yeah, because of the blue pendants at the funeral and stuff.
Yes.
That is absolutely terrifying. And
how mortifying is that?
Broski, if this is real, get out of there.
I mean, I think it's a boo.
I think
for sure, like straight up, because
100%.
We're going to be talking about the good old Night Hag in a moment, actually, after our next few sections. So stick around for that. But my oh my, I got like chills and I felt like sick.
Same.
Reading the end of that.
It really gave me like the Haunting of Bly Manor vibes. Have you seen that show on Netflix?
No.
It's really good. I'll have to show you. Or The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
It gave me that type of vibe, and it's genuinely giving me like chills.
That's absolutely terrible. That's probably one of the scariest boo or bust we've had on our podcast so far. So yeah, let us know what you think about that. Because that is one messed up like night demon.
And talking about messed up night demons, that leads us onto our Silver Scream.
So for our Silver Scream this week, you might have probably guessed by the title of the show or the episode what it might be. But if you haven't put two and two together, as we do for every Silver Scream, we start off with a little movie quote for you, and we want to see if you guess it. So go straight to the comments now. After we said the quote, pause the video, go straight down, comment what you think it was, go back up and see if you got it right. And let us know, timestamp it. But here we go. So
the movie quote is as follows. Whatever you do, don't fall asleep. There's only one film that it's got to be, right?
It's only got to be the infamous and probably most classic horror film, perhaps.
It is, of course, A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984.
I mean, it is just one of the most significant and enduring horror franchises ever.
It is.
In cinematic history. It is just
one of the best horror films ever.
It is the one, you know.
Yeah.
And I know I say this about a lot of the ones, but like this is like part of like the golden like
Mm-hmm.
collection, like the golden sort of. It is like the standard,
Yeah.
the gold standard for horror films, and it is like
Really is.
so unique, and is, you know, fundamentally it changed the landscape of slasher films and introduced a truly unique monster, which is the infamous Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Even the name just holds so much.
Freddy Krueger.
Like
It's just so much like aura,
Yeah.
if you like.
aura. Yeah, so much
Yes.
aura.
Yes, he's not an aura debt. But of course, Nightmare on Elm Street, directed by the amazing Wes Craven, who has sadly passed away since. But he was also the mastermind behind the Scream franchise
Yeah.
as well, which is another classic set of films.
He was truly a pillar of horror as far
truly
as directors
a
go.
pillar.
And of course, for those of you that don't know, and for those of you that haven't seen A Nightmare on Elm Street, first of all, where have you been if you haven't seen A Nightmare on
Certainly
Elm
living
Street?
under the biggest rock in history.
Yeah, exactly. Like, come on, wake up, Patrick. Get out
Yeah.
from under your rock and go and watch A Nightmare on Elm Street. It is an absolutely amazing film. It is very graphic, so if you're not into gory horror,
It is.
or if you get scared quite easily, I wouldn't recommend that you watch it. But what are you doing listening to
I
a
mean,
horror podcast?
Yeah, if you got this far, like,
yeah,
you,
if you got
you have
this
to watch
far-
it. I'm sorry if you haven't
If you
seen
can listen to the Boo or Bust story, perfectly fine. You can watch this film perfectly fine.
it. Please don't watch the reboot. Please don't. That's the one that always comes up on Netflix. Do not be fooled. It is like from 2010, I think.
Oh yeah.
Do not watch it.
No.
It is. He looks like a bunny rabbit. It doesn't. It's not right, and it's too early. It shouldn't ever be remade,
Yeah.
essentially. But if you haven't seen it, we're going to give you a little plot summary about what happens, but we won't spoil the ending
No.
because there's a big twist in the end.
Yes.
Spoiler. There's already a spoiler, but here's a little bit of a plot summary for you.
So, the film follows Nancy Thompson and her friends in a suburban community who are being targeted in their dreams by a disfigured phantom, aka Freddy Krueger, who uses a razor-bladed glove.
One of the most classic, like, weapons of a horror character.
Yeah. After Freddy gruesomely murders Nancy's friends in their sleep, she then discovers that Freddy was a child killer who was actually burned alive years ago by the local neighborhood parents, including her own mother. And Freddy is now a vengeful spirit seeking to kill their children in their dreams.
It's a bit like he's like going for revenge of the people that he didn't get around to doing because, you know, like I say, it's the parents were the children at the time who have now grown up, and he's like, right, I'm going to have revenge and I'm going to get your children now.
Yeah. And after realizing that the dream injuries translate to reality, Nancy fights to stay awake. And she ultimately devises a plan to go into the dream world and to pull Freddy out into the real world where he might become mortal. And we'll leave it there.
We will leave it there because there is a certain ending that we cannot ruin if you haven't seen it. But if you know it, it's iconic. But going on to a little bit of influence and the legacy behind Nightmare on Elm Street, it was actually the creation, really, of supernatural slasher films. So slashers are like a subgenre itself, and supernatural is a subgenre of horror as well.
Yeah.
Mashing it together as a supernatural slasher, because it very much broke the rules. So before Freddy Krueger, you had Halloween, which we spoke about in our Halloween episode, funnily enough. So go and check that out if you haven't as well after this. You know, you had like Michael Myers, that was in like 1978, and then you had Friday the 13th, which is in 1980, which is about Jason Voorhees, and we will be doing an episode on Friday the 13th.
We will.
But that's not for a little while yet. But please subscribe, and there's plenty more Frights, Flicks and Folklore to come, as we say. But
both films basically rely on like a large, silent, masked, humanoid, like antagonist character who operated in the real world, essentially.
100%.
However, the big change for A Nightmare on Elm Street when it came out was that it was the first major film to introduce a killer who was entirely supernatural, but was also chatty and used a realm outside of reality, so dreams, basically, as his hunting ground.
Yes.
It basically meant that where people could always say, oh, this is just happening in a film. Nope, this is happening in your dreams now.
Yes, I mean,
and
you can imagine the effect that
everybody
had.
is in danger.
And Wes Craven used the dream world to justify surreal, visually shocking and often bizarre deaths. So like the blood geyser and the ceiling kill, which is very iconic amongst others, injecting creativity and spectacle that sort of like revitalized the sort of stagnating slasher genre, because that was kind of like the birth of like horror. So after Psycho, it kind of was slasher, but it kind of said like, we're going to go down a different route, a bit like Alien, that went down like a sci-fi route. This went down.
You can never really say that slasher as a genre was ever like getting boring.
It wasn't getting boring,
but it was just being redone in like a bunch of different ways.
It was just sort of getting samey in some regards.
Yeah, but A Nightmare on Elm Street changed that entire scope, basically.
Certainly did.
Yeah. And with that, obviously, was created the horror icon of Freddy Krueger, obviously played by the amazing Robert Englund, who became one of like the big three slasher villains in the 1980s, alongside the two that we just spoke of, so Jason Voorhees for Friday 13th and Michael Myers in Halloween. But basically, unlike the silent, like masked counterparts from before, Freddy was cynical and really dark in his humor, and he was actually very articulate and would like converse with his victims.
He would, yeah.
And he delighted in the terror that he caused, and just engaged like in psychological torture before his physical kill, essentially.
He very much sort of manipulated and exploited nightmares to his advantage.
Yep. And because of that, this shift made him like a character that audiences really enjoyed watching, even as they feared him, because
it's kind of a
it
weird,
made him like personable,
love-hate relationship.
Yeah, as well as like absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. The film's core legacy is the theme that fear is power. And Freddy is not powered by brute force, but he is powered by the victim's belief in him and their terror. This gave the protagonist Nancy a psychological weapon, so she withdrew her fear in the film. So yeah, that kind of happens, but like I say, it's rather than sort of using a physical way to counter the villain, she uses very much like a psychological one, which is very fresh at the time and new to see that kind of perspective. Yeah. Sort of overcome that idea of fear.
But also coming off that, what we were saying about it having like the demonic tie-in earlier, you know what else feeds off of fear? Demons feed off of fear.
Yes.
And as soon as something bad is happening to you in your real life, when you're vulnerable, they feed off of the fear that you create. They feed off of the anxiety that you're inducing upon yourself.
And it's very much what Freddy Krueger is and
exactly
does.
He's like the first like on-screen sleep paralysis demon to ever be projected into modern media, essentially.
Absolutely.
Which I think is pretty freaking cool, if you ask me.
It's amazing. Such an iconic villain.
Yeah. But with the iconic villain of Freddy himself, there also came like the reinvention of the final girl trope that we spoke about in our Halloween episode and our Alien episode as well, actually.
We did, yes. Indeed.
And obviously we have Nancy Thompson, who is played by Heather Langenkamp, and she's considered one of the most resourceful and intelligent, like quote unquote final girls in horror history. So she uses her intellect and also like psychological strategy, essentially setting a template for the future like smart, resilient female leads in other horrors after that. Yeah,
I think it was very much can be perceived in that way, and she very much was like a role model and a template for this is how female representation can be portrayed differently in films. But of course, quite iconically with A Nightmare on Elm Street, there was a massive financial success because considering its low budget, which was 1.8 million, so
which we know is
very,
a lot of money,
low.
But for the actual
for a film,
for
especially
a film,
in the 80s,
that's not a lot of money at all.
And it was produced by the independent at the time New Line Cinema, which was jokingly nicknamed the house that Freddy built due to the sheer profitability of the ensuing sequels and, of course, the initial film. Yeah. But there's actually a documentary on Netflix, which I think I mentioned before, actually that it started out in like a shed, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
And the film was like so nearly not made but they believed in it so much. And New Line Cinema, we see it like everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's why it's called The House That Freddy Built, because without this film, that wouldn't even be a company.
New Line Cinema wouldn't be where it's at today.
So it's amazing.
It would just be old lines.
Old line cinema.
Yeah.
Old news. So without giving too much away, the film's got quite an ambiguous ending where it kind of ensured that Freddy could always live on, essentially.
Yeah.
Never truly be gone. Or like demons like him.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sort of paved the way for obviously numerous sequels and cementing the eternal sort of recurring nature of modern horror franchises, but also represented the fact that some fears just don't go until, like, you know, you actually get rid of them properly.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. So just going on to a little bit more of the like production side of things. Obviously the film is directed by the incredibly talented Wes Craven. But originally the character for Freddy Krueger wasn't actually going to be the like verbose, wisecracking villain that we know him as today. In the first film, Freddy is largely like a silent and menacing character, but it was only in the sequels where his personality kind of evolved into the humorous, cynical killer that we know him as today. This is something that Wes Craven did actually kind of reportedly dislike, but it was cemented in the franchises nonetheless because of its gaining popularity.
I mean, I think the sequels got worse and worse after the first one.
Yeah.
It just sort of became like humorous. Same as Child's Play, it did like the same kind of thing with
Yeah.
Chucky. It sort of got more funny as it went instead of like horror, but nonetheless it's played, you know, a massive role in horror history, and you know, it cemented Freddy Krueger as a very likable character.
Yeah.
In the context of being a killer. But going down the idea of the infamous glove, Wes Craven actually based the idea for his razor-bladed glove on a couple of real-life anxieties, and this was actually the thought of a natural weapon, and his deep fear of clipping his own fingernails, funnily enough. So that all came from obviously like fear of like to do with fingers.
Now I want to know what Wes Craven's hands look like.
Got talons.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting, I think, for sure.
It's really interesting, but also really like weird. I don't know why, but I feel like fingernails is like a really specific thing to be like afraid of.
Yeah, I mean,
and
there's
that
plenty
kind of
of
makes me
things I'm
uncomfortable.
scared of, but
Ugh. Anyway, on a slightly less disgusting note, let's talk about Johnny Depp, shall we?
let's.
And particularly a young Johnny Depp. So, A Nightmare on Elm Street was actually the film debut for Mr. Johnny Depp.
I'm pretty sure it says, and like introducing Johnny Depp in the opening credits.
Does it actually?
I think so.
That's really cool. He obviously plays Nancy's boyfriend, Glenn Lance, in the film. And originally, director Craven wanted to cast like a bodybuilder type, but his daughter, who was actually present during the auditions, insisted that he casted Johnny Depp because he was quote unquote dreamy.
I mean, that fits in the old dream state kind of stuff as well, funnily enough.
It does, yeah.
The name, but
I also think that a lot of girls at the time would have agreed with that, because if you haven't seen a young Johnny Depp, he was a good looking guy.
He very much was. He's
not that he's not good looking now, but obviously
he's Mr. Cool, isn't he?
He is Mr. Cool.
He's very much Mr. Cool.
Yeah.
But no, it's got top choice, and of course it's sparked this amazing career for Johnny Depp. I know it's come with some bad moments, unfortunately, for him.
I also feel like, just on like a kind of pop culture vein, that started like a whole new type of like fangirling as well.
I think so.
I feel like, because it was Johnny Depp, and it was Leonardo DiCaprio, and Skeet Ulrich, and like all of these like
people like Scream and
younger men who were like kind of
had that kind of like
longer
hairstyle.
Actors, but like had that longer like shaggy looking curtain hair. Yeah.
Not like big people, but they kind of like just.
And they were like slightly thinner looking.
But they kind of had that like kind of edge, I suppose.
Yeah, they had that angst to them, you know, that like teenage girls just really digged at the time.
So I think Johnny Depp was very much a part of that.
Yeah, and he held on to his angst.
Yes.
He really did.
But going back to Robert Englund, the amazing actor behind Freddy Krueger, who actually recently got his Hollywood Walk of Fame.
As he should. Well deserved.
Well deserved.
Well done, Mr.
Robert Englund. But before he was cast, Wes Craven originally envisioned Freddy Krueger as a quiet, menacing presence and wanted a serious, dramatic actor to play him, possibly even using an elderly man. But England won the role by presenting an interpretation that was theatrical, sinister, and playful. I mean, I cannot imagine anybody else playing Freddy Krueger, which is why the reboot didn't work, and it's why they think about doing a reboot even 100, 200 years in the future. It's never going to work.
It's never going to be the
because
same.
you're not Robert Englund.
No.
That's the bottom line. He is Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. And he had already like made his presence known, like where we were talking last time about him helping on the Halloween set as well.
Yes.
Like he was meant to be there.
And he's got such an unusual face as well. He's like he's obviously he looks like Freddy Krueger, but he's got this charisma about him that made like Freddy Krueger like not bog standard
like
horror villain.
Yeah,
exactly. But Freddy's infamous green and red striped sweater was actually chosen by Wes Craven based on research that indicated that the two colours are the most difficult for the human eye to process together.
Ooh.
And that they are certain shades of red and green, and he hoped that this would create this sort of an unsettling, jarring visual effect on the screen.
I suppose it does actually.
Because it's a very ugly colour scheme.
It is
really
very ugly.
disgustingly ugly.
And I feel like the entire time, whether you like fashion or not, you're kind of sat there with your teeth gritted, like, ugh. Like.
And funnily enough, I think it was actually Wes Craven that appeared in Scream. I think it's the first one, and he had like a little cameo. And he had like the red and green sweater.
Was he actually?
And he had like the sort of fedora hat.
We'll have to watch that and point it out afterwards.
And yeah, it's like it's a little nod to his Nightmare on Elm Street film, which is really funny, but there's a little fact you might not know.
If you're like me and you didn't know that, go and give this video a like.
Yes, please do. Support us.
But that wasn't the only kind of like odd little like effect that was going on with this film. One of them, particularly in the scene where Freddy's tongue attempts to lick Nancy like through the phone, was actually achieved with special effects team creating a mechanical mouthpiece worn by Robert that could be controlled remotely.
That's quite funny, I think.
That is really funny.
Because that bit's like really, because she has like the phone to her face like to answer it, and then like the tongue comes out like licks her like lips.
Yeah.
That's like the way that was done. That's quite a genius way of doing it. I think that's quite funny. I didn't know it was operated like remotely.
Yeah, I didn't know that
and like
either.
he was like worn a mechanical mouthpiece. That's pretty cool.
The amount of effort that went into all of these like practical effects and stuff like back in the day.
I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street, like obviously they didn't have much budget,
just phenomenal.
They like really played with it, the resources so well. And we speak about this in every film, but about every film and every episode that we do. Practical effects are just the way, to utilise your resources as a filmmaker.
They really are the way, especially in horror, I think.
Especially horror.
I think because horror is it's a genre where I think that raw emotion matters
it does.
like so much more than anything else. I think
really
in
does.
drama you can get away with like overplaying something or underplaying something because it changes the tone and sentimentality of it. But with horror, you need it to be raw. You need your characters to interact with something.
Yeah.
You need your actors to interact with something to really instill that fear into them as they're playing it.
You need
and
something
their
in front
character.
of you.
Yeah.
To like see,
So all of these like practical effects really do make a difference.
They make a difference to every aspect, I believe.
Yeah. 100%.
But as we mentioned earlier about Glenn's death, he's pulled through his bed and like a geyser of blood basically shoots to the ceiling. Was actually achieved by flipping the set, and the bedroom was built upside down, and the blood, which was mostly water and food colouring, was poured from the ceiling, and which was actually the floor in the film, while the camera filmed creating the effect of blood defying gravity.
Ooh.
Which is like really cool. And I know it's the same with when, I can't remember her name, but the other friend, where she's like basically lifting up to the ceiling and she's like crawling around the ceiling and she gets like ripped open and stuff.
Oh.
That was done using the same thing. So again, clever use of like, perspective in the film. But there's just some like basic facts, but we just want you to go and watch it essentially. Again, we always recommend it. That's why we've chosen this film. Nothing obviously.
And it is just a cult classic. It's so good.
It's one of the gold standard slasher or horror films or films in general to go and watch. So
if you're trying to build like a horror film collection, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original one from 1984, has to be up there.
It has to be up there. So just go and watch it. Just go and watch it.
And now, just leading off of that and going on to another clever aspect of the film, that leads us into our Shivering Soundtracks. For the Shivering Soundtracks, obviously staying on A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984, we have the score, which was composed by a Mr. Charles Bernstein, who was an American composer who was known for his innovative use of electronics and synthesizers during his film scores in the 1980s. The music is defined by its sparse and like synthesized, like often metallic sounds, because he purposely avoided traditional orchestral swells and opted instead for percussive, minimalist and electronic effects that sounded really unnatural and unsettling.
I mean, it very much is the case.
Yeah,
because it just sort of comes out of nowhere a lot of the time, like boom, ding, 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 sort of those kind.
But it just really reflects that unsettling and unnatural dream realm that he's in, isn't it? Because it's not meant to be real.
It's a very atmospheric soundtrack. But the score frequently uses metallic drones and high-pitched electronic screeches, and dissonant sort of stingers, so like sharp sort of brief chord type sounds, to sort of signify the moment where a character sort of slips into the dream world, or realizes that Freddy is near. So it's again, sort of the dream world's got its own leitmotif, which is like a piece of music that sort of represents a certain thing or person in a film, like the dream world does, and so does Freddy.
Yeah.
And this sort of synthetic, slightly tinny quality underscores the fact that the terror is taking place in a very unnatural and distorted reality. So again, it takes you somewhere completely different just by its sort of musicality and its timbre and its use of sound.
Oh, I love that word. Timbre. But like I've said, for many of the older horror films that we've done, I say older, obviously they're from the 80s, they aren't old, but I just mean in comparison to the media that we see nowadays.
Absolutely.
When these like absolute masterpieces reflect what's being shown on screen, that is why music is so important in the horror genre.
It's very
because
important.
It makes you feel it as it's happening.
It tells you how to feel.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of music, but especially in horror, I think it's got like a real poignant place. It has to tell you how to feel, and like when something's happening, or perhaps even when it's not happening.
Yeah. Even like when we mentioned in the Halloween episode, for example, that when it was first shown without the music, that the producers just said that it actually wasn't scary at all.
And then when
it was only after the music went in that they were actually like, oh no, this is terrifying.
Yep.
It really can be the make or break aspect.
It really can.
Of a film.
Very much so. But the main recurring theme is slow and simple and characterized by heavy sort of 4-note synthesized motifs that can feel quite childlike, and very deeply ominous. So the motif sort of represents the relentless, inescapable nature of his pursuit again. So it's going down that sort of childlike thing because he's a child murderer and whatnot. He is, it adds to that kind of like creepiness. It's one of those films, which we'll say about in a second, uses like sort of children's like nursery rhymes to and sounds to that sort of popularize that kind of thing, I think, in horror media.
Well, it even has its own nursery rhyme, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because even though it's not obviously part of the actual film score itself, there is like the infamous Freddy Krueger nursery rhyme, which is like it just completes the folklore around the character itself. It does.
I think it's one of the more iconic parts about Freddy Krueger is the
really,
nursery
really
rhyme.
is, yeah. And it's like sung by like children who were skipping ropes, because I'm pretty sure that they show that little clip in the film as well, which obviously juxtaposes like the innocence with the characters and everything, versus like the context of the murders that he's like making and all this type of stuff. But it's just completely spine chilling if you ask me, like the 1, 2 Freddy's coming for you
and whatnot, because we actually use that on one of our reels.
So like it makes me just uncomfortable thinking about it.
We used it on our reel to tease this episode actually, so if you haven't heard it, go and check out our reel or at Bad Boo Productions. But it is very, very frightening.
It is.
And the way it's done and sung and everything in terms of its musicality is very, very scary. The whole film soundtrack is, I say, the main thing we can get from here is that it's very, very ominous and very atmospheric, especially in the dream sequences. I believe that Charles Bernstein actually did the music to Hellraiser as well.
Oh, really?
I might be wrong. I might be getting that completely mixed up. But if so, I can hear similarities because it's very like synthy and like atmospheric, which Hellraiser's got the same kind of sound. So I'm sure I'm right. But
it would make a lot of sense if it was.
But going on to some sort of interesting facts about the soundtrack. Bernstein was deliberately constrained by the film's extremely tight budget, and he often had to write cues that were very, very short and modular, and use very simple synthesizers rather than complex orchestras. And this sort of forced the minimalism that you hear in the film, and is actually what gave the score its distinct modern and chilling electronic identity, which became very highly influential. So like Halloween used the same thing because of the low budget.
Yeah.
There's no way you could hire an orchestra. I mean, most composers now, like myself as well, it's just not in the budget, it's not in the scope, you know. But using small budgets, it requires you to be more creative with the very limited resources you've got.
Yeah.
And it proves with the success of this, and say like John Carpenter's Halloween score, how amazing it can be when you're just using minimal equipment.
Yeah.
And how like influential it can actually be for culture.
And that kind of goes to be proven actually with the sequels afterwards. So the original score for the 1984 film obviously was like renowned for its like genuine like eerie and suspenseful feeling that it like ensues onto the listener and the watcher.
Yeah.
But in the later sequels, the subsequent composers who followed afterwards, where they moved much more towards like a more action orientated or like traditional orchestra sound, it just doesn't hit the same, and it leaves viewers remembering the original score more than the later ones that like come.
I think because people just miss that like dread sound.
Yeah,
Kind
well,
of
it's because it's just
feeling
not
of
the same,
fear.
is it?
No. And that's part of the reason why it sort of just lost its horror, if that makes sense, in the sequels.
Yeah.
But one of the most sort of more famous musical moments, I suppose, in the film is actually one we actually spoke about earlier, which is like with the tongue licking sequence in the phone, where his tongue sort of attempts to lick Nancy. The score is very, very sharp, and this is what I said earlier about sort of it makes you sort of jump. It's like ping, that sort of sound. And it sort of uses that sort of rising electronic tones and distorted effects that perfectly capture the shock of like a dream invasion that sort of blends and finds its way and bleeds its way into reality, really. So
I see what you did there. Bleeds its way into reality, because that's what Freddy Krueger does with his victims.
He does.
They bleed their way into reality.
See what I've done there? Thank you very much. But it's like kind of that shock factor. Kind of the music sort of jump scares you at points and sort of really points out like the really obscure or dreamlike motifs. So it's really geniusly done.
It is entirely, and kind of like just a weird little thing to throw in there about the soundtracks as well is unlike the sequels that came after it, the score for the original one, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the 1984 version, the soundtrack for it wasn't immediately released, and it often had to be like traded among fans if somebody did have a copy of it. And it wasn't until like decades later that an actual like comprehensive and legitimate soundtrack was like made available to fans, essentially.
That would like kill me if I made the music and like no one could like own it in some way, you know?
I know, it's just really like why does that happen?
I don't know. It's probably the budget, I suppose. But the film as a whole and the whole soundtrack is just worth every moment
of
experiencing. So again, we'll leave a link in the description to the soundtrack to go and listen to it, because it is available now, obviously.
I think, especially with the soundtrack as well, it's not just a film, it's an experience.
It is.
Because it leaves you
really
questioning your own reality afterwards, which is one of my favourite kind of ways to come away from a horror film.
You question
or just a film in general. Like, I know a film is good when I walk out of a cinema like, whoa.
But you start questioning what's real and what isn't, don't you? So it's just perfect in every way.
And that's exactly what this film does.
So please go and watch it, Nightmare on Elm Street, if you haven't seen it. But if you have, just let us know what you think in the comments. Just let us know. If there's anything that we surprised you with as well in tonight's episode, let us know as well.
Yep. And on the subject of nightmare fuel, that leads us into our ghostly gossip section.
So as we alluded to earlier, there was a specific creature that we actually spoke about in our Buell Bust and a bit before, about this so-called Night Hag that sort of instills a more spiritual perspective on sleep paralysis and sleep demons. It is like the sleep demon, essentially, of the real world. So we've had our Freddy Krueger. This is the Night Hag.
Yeah.
So the experience of sleep paralysis is so culturally entrenched in Newfoundland, particularly in its traditional fishing village, that the phenomenon is sort of colloquially known as simply like the old hag.
Yeah.
So it kind of creeps me out already, just talking about the hag.
Yeah.
If you've played Dead by Daylight, there's a killer called the Hag, and that's just what goes through my brain. But yeah,
just bringing it back to a little more of a historical setting. It basically comes from isolated communities and fishing villages in Newfoundland, like we just mentioned, which is in Canada, for those of you that don't know. So maple syrup, Justin Bieber, and all that. This culture retains really strong ties to the British and Irish folklore from which the Night Hag was originally transported. And anthropologists and sleep disorder specialists have studied these communities extensively, noting how the local folklore and the medical experience of sleep paralysis are fundamentally intertwined.
That's really interesting how even scientific experts basically saying there's
it's
a
more
place for
prevalent
both.
In this area. Yeah.
And it's there's sort of the intertwined sort of nature of both science and spiritual folklore that's derivative of British and Irish sort of tradition. We always say about the Night Hag. But again, like we said, it's kind of Newfoundland is where it's so culturally prevalent. This kind of idea of this old hag.
And it's actually so prevalent to the point where locals don't even traditionally say I had sleep paralysis. They simply say I had the hag, or I was hag ridden.
I mean, that sounds a bit odd, the last one.
It does sound, I was hag ridden. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But that does sound a bit inappropriate.
It does sound a bit inappropriate.
Maybe they were hoping that the hag would ride him in a different way. You never know.
Who bloody knows?
But let's just not question it.
But that's what we were saying earlier in our Mystic Matter section as well. Yeah. Is that sort of witch riding and stuff. Yeah. This is where this sort of comes from, and this is kind of the folklore tale of the demon that comes to visit you and gives you these horrible episodes of sleep paralysis.
Yeah. And I think the idea of something kind of riding you or being on top of you basically just comes from the idea that once something's on top of you, or if a person is to straddle you like that, it means that you kind of have to, unless you know karate or something, you kind of have to succumb to whatever they're about to do because they've got their entire body weight on you, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of that chest pressing feeling you have when you're paralyzed in sleep. Yeah. It's terrifying. It's a horrible feeling. Because you're just in a
position where you're watching something and you can't really do anything about it.
And now this makes me think about my own sleep paralysis thing. Yeah. The same kind of old hag. Yeah. It's an old lady that always appears for me. Yeah. So it's I'm thinking
yours is this.
Is the Night Hag.
And she's the
visited me.
You've got the OG Night Hag as well because we're in England. So
I've got season 1 drop of the Night Hag, limited before the edition. Updates. Yeah. This is
shiny skinned.
Shiny skin. Sort of the Shining sort of version of the Night Hag, if you like. That's
extended cut,
original cut, theatrical edition of the Night Hag. We can go on, but yeah, it's just that makes me feel more scared now, knowing that more people, it's an actual thing. It's not I'm exclusively getting this old lady that appears. Yeah. It's not the most common one. Yeah, well, going into what these people actually experience in Newfoundland and Canada, there's basically the same story from all of these people. So individuals in these communities suffering from sleep paralysis consistently report the same classic symptoms, all of them interpreted through the lens of the hag.
they traditionally go like this. So the person wakes up in the dark, but is fully conscious, but suddenly completely unable to move any muscle in their body at all, accompanied by a feeling of cold or of dread, which then leads to the terrifying inability to breathe or move, which often comes with the visualization or the physical feeling of the hag physically sitting on the chest of the victim and literally crushing the air out of them.
Yes, I mean that sounds very. I can relate to that in how that feels. It's horrible.
It really
kind
is
of fits it adds that claustrophobic feel, and it's just horrible. And there's a very specific picture, which we'll leave a link to the Night Hag. But I believe we'll try and find a link to what the Night Hag is, and it's got a little bit more detail. If you're interested in having a look. But there's a very famous painting, I believe, of this like Night Hag as a little creature, not very little, but kind of like 3-4 feet, that sort of sits on this person that's sleeping's chest. And it's a really creepy image. But hopefully we'll leave that in the description for you to see.
Yeah. Obviously, like even other sleep paralysis experiences, like my one with like the little girl and stuff like that, exact same as this.
Yes.
Because there have been instances where I've woken up and things have been like on top of me as well. I've had like huge black masses on top of me before, and that's really scary because it doesn't have a face or anything. It's just the shape of a person and it's black.
It's kind of what we were saying about earlier about like the intruder.
Yeah, it's like
kind
a
of
black smoke type of thing.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter like whether it is an old lady, which is the most common one, but you know, the young boy or the young girl, or like these sort of black shadowy smoky figures. Like many of the victims actually report the intruder hallucination, like what you experienced probably more, which is like the shadow or grotesque, sometimes female figure, which is like in the old hag sort of route. But they sort of enter the room and loom and approach the bed before sitting down and sort of initiating this sense of pressure, whether it's like on your chest or even psychological pressure, I believe. So that's the Night Hag in a roundabout way, sort of adding on a bit more detail from what we were saying earlier, but we'll leave a link in the description if you want to sort of delve more into like the folklore behind the Night Hag. But it's sort of quite a simplistic demon that just sits on your chest and enjoys watching you suffer at night time in your most vulnerable place, which is your bedroom essentially. So again, link in the description, but we'll you should go and check it out.
Bloody arseholes, if you ask me.
Bloody arseholes.
Very spiteful.
Spiteful
Leave
arseholes.
me alone. I just want to sleep.
You want to have a slumber, but
just want to get a kip in. You know?
But they're doing this to us, so cheers for that, mate. Got work tomorrow.
If I don't get my kip in, you're getting a kick in.
There's the quote for you.
That's what I say.
Ask for merch. Comment merch if you want that on merch.
Yeah. What was the one from earlier?
God.
Someone comment below, remind us what the one from earlier was.
Yes, we're just too genius. We've got so many ideas that you got to kind of remind us of these things. But again, it's just so creepy.
It is really, really creepy.
But talking about experiences of nightmares, that leads us on to our final section of the podcast, the Spooky Spotlight.
For this episode's Spooky Spotlight, we are actually, again, just going to shine a little light onto our own experiences. Not necessarily sleep paralysis this time, but just nightmares in general, as that's what this podcast episode is about.
Yes.
But it also just gives you guys a chance to chime in the comments below.
That's what the Spooky Spotlight we kind of want over time, is for you guys to get involved.
To let us know what your experiences are.
So we'll start off with ours, but again, comment below any nightmares, not sleep paralysis, you have. Or experience, and we're just going to probably name one each that we have that's persistently appears, whether it's now or did when we were children. But so I'll start on today's nightmare tale. I actually mentioned it briefly in our werewolves episode, which is our last one, so go and check that out after this one if you haven't. But the werewolf from Doctor Who Tooth and Claw episode, which is David Tennant's second episode, I believe. Must have been his third episode. the werewolf from that used to really freak me out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a scene in it when like one of the characters is looking down the corridor, and the werewolf sort of slowly comes around the corner and then sort of approaches them.
Yeah.
My nightmare was always that I'd wake up, I'd be in my dining room, there'd be like a swinging like pale like light bulb,
Mm-hmm.
which wasn't how the dining room looked, and it sort of had like a long wooden table, and I'd look over to the door which went to like the hallway to like the front door, and the werewolf would like slowly peer its head round and like walk through, and it would constantly chase me around this table.
Knowing what your dining room and living room look like, I can imagine that, and I really don't like it.
I mean, it chased me around the table, like round and around, and to the point that it was like so enduring that, you know, when you sort of feel like you're running through treacle.
Yeah.
And it kind of eventually caught me up.
Oh, like that scene from Scared Shrekless when Donkey is running on the plate because he's about to be eaten by a waffle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly
there's butter. Or is there butter or maple syrup on the plate?
I think it's butter.
Yeah.
Little niche Shrek reference there, if you guys like little niche references. But yeah, that was my thing, and it took ages for him to catch up. But I'd run and run and run. Sometimes I'd try and trick it by going the other way, but it'd sort of walk on its hind legs.
Oh, I really don't like
that.
It
just eventually got me.
I used to think that if I did that,
it grabbed me, and then I woke up, and then I think, shit, you know, where am I?
I used to think,
is it here?
When I was little, that if I walked on my hind legs, that I would turn into a werewolf.
The werewolf from
or
Harry Potter.
I would be chased by one. Yeah, the one. I used to think that I would turn into Professor Lupin, and it would really, really frighten me. But my kind of like main ones that I had, I dream quite a lot about like kind of like bad things happening to people I love, or like me having to do really bad things to like protect the people that I love. Like I've had quite a few at my old house when I was living with my family.
Yeah.
I used to have dreams about people breaking in all the time, and I would have to like jump on the counter in my kitchen and wait for them to walk past me, and I'd have to like stab them multiple times with like a knife and turn into like a psychotic murderer. Much like the dream that I had with the girl, you know, the final one that I mentioned in my bathroom. I dreamt that one time she appeared behind me and I grabbed her by the hair and like smashed her head into the mirror in front of me over my shoulder and just kept going until I killed her.
That's a way of, like I say, get rid of your sleep demons.
It's just because I remembered, I was like, hold on a minute. I was like, this is my dream. Get the fuck out of my head. Yes. I'm going to mess you up. But yeah, I've had dreams like that before. I also used to have, like, I mentioned this in the Halloween episode. I used to have really vivid ones about the boogeyman living underneath my bed.
Of course. Yes.
And what would happen is I would be sleeping, but where I would be like lying on my back in my bed would turn into a door, and I would turn around and face kind of downwards in my duvet, and I would be able to open my bed like a door, and it would then open up into like this black kind of depthless realm that had loads of really blue dimly lit staircases,
kind of like Pan's Labyrinth,
without any like railings or anything. And all of these staircases just led in loads of different directions, and it was like the
tunnels.
And it was like the boogeyman's like underworld.
That's crazy.
And I would get stuck in there. I used to have loads of dreams about that when I was a kid.
Yeah. That frightens me so much.
I used to have another one about, I would wake up. I had like a really, really deep fear of the Beast from Beauty and the Beast,
yes.
Like the Disney film. So much so to the fact where my mum would actually have to skip a certain part of the film in order for me to be able to watch it. And the other day, me and Sam were doing a movie quiz for the soundtracks in like Disney films. And it played that one, and I fully started crying and nearly hyperventilating because I hadn't heard the soundtrack for that specific part of the Beauty and the Beast in about 20 years.
Because that's been the part that you had been
it triggered me.
Sheltered from.
And I basically had a breakdown. Yeah. And it just exposed me to it after 20 years of
I was so confused. I was like, what is she crying about?
I just really...
So it's a very emotional piece of music.
Absolutely gasped. It's a really beautiful piece of music, but it's really scary to listen to.
I thought you were crying at. I thought
it's really, really scary.
It's very beautiful, yeah.
And I used to have dreams basically about the Beast from the Beauty and the Beast. But what would happen is I would wake up in kind of like... I don't really know how to describe it. Like, you know, in countries in the Middle East, there's like those temples that are built into like mountains in the desert.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And on the inside, it's all like sandstone and like dust and stuff everywhere. I would wake up in one of those at the top of a staircase, and the staircase was like a huge, grand, like slightly semicircled staircase that would lead downwards. And there were these huge pillars everywhere, but that's all that there was. There was just these 2 staircases that didn't lead to another floor or anything. They would just lead up, and I was there.
Yeah.
And I would always go down really, really slowly.
Yeah.
But I would hear something thudding towards me from the distance, but I couldn't turn back or go behind. It was like I was being forced to go forward towards it. And I'd always wake up as I got to like the downstairs area. And it was just absolutely terrifying. Which doesn't make any sense because the beast is like in the middle of a forest in a castle. But this is a castle in the middle of the desert for some reason. I had no idea what it was.
Takes the whole story to a whole new level.
It really, really does. But it used to absolutely terrify me. I've been having nightmares since I was like really, really little.
With the beast.
With the beast, just with everything in general. But I also had like a traumatizing like kind of childhood. So like we said earlier about the reasons that this type of stuff happens. Trauma can cause it, and it definitely does cause it. I
mean, dreams,
but it's just a way of you coping with it.
They all mean something, really, and you know, they're so interesting.
And it's just your brain trying to process the things that you experience or feel day to day. It's a completely natural process.
Very, very natural.
But obviously, if your nightmares do get really bad, please talk to someone. Please get some help.
Yes.
Go to a doctor if they get really bad.
Speak to people.
If you think you're being haunted, go to a priest. If you think you're being possessed, go to a church, go to Sam and Colby, go to anybody that you can find. Or if you're on the island, drop Bad Boo a DM.
Yes, we'll
try our best.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, we'll try our best.
But yeah, that's some little nightmares from us. So let us know if you have any in the comments.
That's our nightmare on Bad Boo Street.
That's our nightmare on Bad Boo Street. Very much like that. But that leads us, unfortunately, onto the end of tonight's episode.
So if you have restlessly enjoyed tonight's episode, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe for Bad Boo updates and new episodes, as there's plenty more frights, flicks and folklore to come.
You can also haunt us on socials at Bad Boo Productions, where you can interact and leave suggestions for future episodes or contribute through polls and posts.
And if you didn't know yet, and if you're after more creepy content, then our Patreon is also live. And if you'd like to hear or even see more of us, then please head over there for more exclusive Boo Crew videos, stories and live streams.
So that's all from us for this nightmare of an episode today. We've been your haunted hosts, Sam and Jodie, unravelling the dark so you don't have to, hoping your sleep tonight is Kruger-free. And until next time, keep your lights on, your doors locked, and remember, the shadows never